All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
Welcome back to Reignite Resilience. I am your co-host, Natalie Davis, with a sultry kind of voice today, I guess. And joining me, of course, is Pam Cass. Pam, how are you today?
Well, I'm probably better than you are. I'm like at the very tail end of my cold, and so I'm just sucking on a throat lozenge, and you've got the sultry voice, so I think we make a good pair.
It's going to be a good combo. Exactly. I'm in a much better state than I was yesterday, so that I'll take it. And I can only hope that tomorrow is going to be even better than that. So
It will.
I am just happy to be here. It is always a challenge when I lose my voice or I have challenges with my voice. But now I'm thinking there was just something mentioned as we were prepping for our episode today that when you go through kind of big life changes, sometimes you lose your voice. My entire livelihood hinges on my voice, and I've lost it twice in the last 2 months. So I also am going through a big change. That's probably why. Anywho, enough about me. We have
Okay.
Exactly. We have a fabulous guest that's joining us. Why don't you tell our listeners who's joining us today?
Absolutely. Today we have Rhonda Britten. She is an Emmy Award winner, repeat Oprah guest, and master coach, has changed lives of over 600 episodes of reality television, including starring in the hit daytime reality show Starting Over. She is the author of 4 best-selling books, including her seminal work, Fearless Living, and is the founder of the Fearless Living Institute, home of the Ivy League of life coaching training. Named America's favorite life coach, she brings the neuroscience of fear down to earth, giving you a path out of not being good enough, using the wheels technology she developed to save her own life. Welcome. I am so excited to dive in and learn more about you and learn more about all these amazing things that you have done and how many people you've impacted.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm so excited. And resilience is like one of my very favorite subjects because in order to have resilience, for some of us are born with a little bit more than others, right? But some of us have to earn it. And I say resilience is earned by crawling through glass,
Yeah.
right? It's like you've got to crawl through glass. You've been through something. If you're a resilient person, you have been through something, whether you know it or not, and you have achieved, you have conquered, you have had the phoenix rising. So for anyone out there listening right now, if you would like more resilience, you probably have more than you think. And if you know you have resilience because people have told you, or maybe you've identified it, trust me, you've walked through glass. May not have known it, but I'm telling you, you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell us kind of how your journey started.
Ooh, well, I'm going to tell you my big glass story, the biggest crawling through glass story I've got,
Yes.
the biggest
Yes.
one. And, I believe that, your worst days of your life are where your seeds of destiny are.
Yeah.
So you're asking me about the worst day of my life, which is when I was 14 years old. I grew up in a little tiny, tiny town in Upper Michigan, 300 inches of snow a year. Yes, 300 inches of snow a year. 2 restaurants, the fancy Douglas House Buffet Hotel and Big Boy. That's it. We didn't even have a McDonald's. That was an hour and a half away. And when people went to that big town, it was like, did you go to McDonald's? Right. It was a big deal. Right. And then I know it's so funny. And my parents had recently separated. And it was Father's Day. So my father was coming over to take us all out to brunch. So I am in my mother's room and she's puffing up her beehive hairdo and putting on a blue eyeshadow and putting on a rose-colored lipstick. And my 2 sisters are in our one bathroom fighting it out. And my dad walks in the back door. Come on, girls, let's go, let's go, let's go, because that's what dads do. And so me and my mom start following my dad towards the back door to go outside into the car to get ready to leave. And my sister's still fighting it out in the bathroom. And as me and mom start walking out, my dad notices it's starting to rain. So he says he has to get his coat from the car. Now, this coat was a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat. Now, you're too young to know what a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat looked like, but I'm telling you, it was hot back then. Him and his polyester pants and his checkered shirt. I mean, looking good, Dad. So he opens his trunk and I notice out of the corner of my eye that he is not grabbing a coat, but he has grabbed a gun. And
Mm.
he starts yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. You made me do this." And he fires. And I
Mm.
start screaming, "Dad, what are you doing, Dad? Stop. What are you doing, Dad?" And he cocks the gun again. He points it at me. And he blinks, I blink. He blinks, I blink. And then my mother, who already has one bullet inside her, notices what's happening and screams out literally with her last breath, "No, don't." And my father, realizing my mother is still alive, takes that bullet intended for me, points it at my mother, shoots her a second time. And that second bullet goes through my mother's abdomen, out her back, lands in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all we heard is, "Ang." And then my father cocks the gun one more time, puts it to his temple and fires.
Mm.
So in a matter of less than 2 minutes, I was a sole witness of watching my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me.
Mm.
Now, I don't know how you two would react. I don't know how you would do, but this is what I did. I blame myself. I didn't do nothing heroic. I was the only one out there that could have stopped it. I didn't kick my father's shins. I didn't grab the gun. I didn't even jump in front of my mother. So, by the way, when you watch your mother die at the hands of your father and you did nothing, you don't get happy to be happy ever again. That's off the table. So, for the next 20 years, I started drinking, became an alcoholic, and got 3 DUIs and tried to kill myself 3 times. And it was the third suicide attempt that I realized something that I'm not very good at killing myself, not skilled at it. And there's got to be a different way. Now, when you do try to kill yourself 3 times, they do put you in a psychiatric ward for evaluation. So they evaluated me and deemed me not crazy and let me go home to my little studio apartment. I lived by myself. And I got home and I was so, on one hand, angry that I was still alive
Mhm.
and confounded about everything I'd done until then, because not only was I drinking, DUI, and suiciding, but I also was going to therapy. I was taking workshops. I was reading books. I mean, I read my first self-help book when I was 12, and I told my parents that I wanted to be a minister at 13. So
Mhm.
I'm a learner. I learn. I took everything I could do. You name it, I've done it. And so here I am after my third suicide attempt, very much alive, and realizing everything I'd done, all the work I'd done on myself, it gave me knowledge, it gave me tools, but it did not take away the feeling that there's something wrong with me. There is something fundamentally wrong with me. So I said, I have to start over. I mean, again, all that was good, but I have to start over. And so I thought to myself, what do kindergartners do? Well, they have a calendar and gold stars. So I went to the store, got a calendar with gold stars, and every day for the next 30 days, I gave myself a gold star anytime. Anytime I did anything worth living for, anything to give me hope that I was supposed to stay alive and that I had meaning and value to my life. I'm talking anything. We're talking drinking, but not getting drunk. We're talking getting angry and not breaking anything. So that's the level of evolution I was at. And after 30 days, I had a calendar filled with gold stars. And I still have that calendar, by the way, in my office. And that calendar, looking at that calendar, gave me hope that there was a reason I was alive. There was a reason that I was still here. Now, I didn't know what it was yet at the time, but it gave me the courage to keep going and to keep searching and to keep living my life. And then a few years after that, I fell into a ABCDE and got me here. But that
Mm.
but that story really defined me for a long time because I never told the truth about it. I was lied about it because I didn't want anyone to know.
Yeah.
And because it was so humiliating. And so I'm from one of those families, right? So the fact that I am able to tell my story now
Mm.
is a testament to how much I've grown because I could never tell it before.
Yeah. Wow.
And did you just simply avoid telling the story altogether, or did you create a new one? Was there a new narrative that you felt safer in?
Well, this is what would happen. So somebody would say parents, something about parents, right? And I'd go,
Mhm.
"Oh, mine are dead. Mine have passed." And they
Mhm.
always say the same thing. "Both of them?" And I
Mhm.
go, "Yes, both of them." And then they always said, literally always, "An accident?" And I can't lie. I have a really hard time lying. Like it's not
Yeah.
easy for me to lie. So
Yeah.
in my mind, this is what I did. Yes, an accident. My father accidentally bought a gun. He accidentally put a bullet in it. He
Mm-hmm.
accidentally, cocked it. He accidentally shot my mother twice, accidentally shot himself. Yes, it was an accident. But of course, I didn't say any of that. I just went, yep,
Yeah.
And I let people believe that.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Wow.
you did this journey by yourself. I mean, yes, you were going to counseling, but all intents purposes, you were taking this journey on your own.
Yeah, because me and my sisters, after it happened, we lived together for a couple years, and then by the time I hit my senior year, we separated. So my younger sister moved in with a family. I got my own apartment in my senior year of high school. My sister moved to a different state. My older sister moved to a different state,
Mhm.
and so from the age of 14, they had no money, no money, and we had a mortgage payment. So we stayed. I think about it now, and I'm so shocked we did this, but I think because we had nothing, we had nowhere else to go, we didn't know what to do. We stayed in that house for 2 years, walking by the place they died at least twice a day, to go to school or to whatever. And so between our little bit, me and my younger sister got a little Social Security. I think it was $200 at the
Mhm.
time. And my sister Cindy, my older sister worked at a grocery store, and then I waitressed and babysat. That's how we survived. And we are from the town. My parents grew up in the town that this happened in.
Mhm.
And I'll give you an example of my relatives. My uncle, just a few years ago, my mom's brother asked me, "Hey, where'd you girls go after that?" And I said, Uncle, we lived in that house. Oh, really? I called once. That's my family. So
Oh,
nobody asked about how I was feeling. Nobody brought food over. Nobody knew how to deal with it, right? Nobody knew how to
Yeah.
deal with something like that.
Hmm.
So they just didn't deal with it.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. We don't know what to say. We're just gonna. Mm.
Yeah, but you could make food and drop it off.
Absolutely.
Right. But
Absolutely.
it's like I think they didn't want to be associated with it. They were
Yeah.
humiliated and embarrassed that it was their brother or sister that this happened to. I think they were, yeah, horrified, and they just didn't come by.
Wow.
For at least 2 years that you were lived in that home.
Well, the only reason I am in touch with my relatives today is because of me. And my sisters would say the same thing.
Yeah.
As I started to heal myself, I started going back home, and I
Hmm.
started asking questions about my mom and dad
Yeah.
because, they died when I was 14. So I wanted to know more about them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted to understand from their perspective what happened.
Hmm.
And it was interesting because when I went in my 20s, when I was still drinking, nobody would share anything with me.
Hmm.
Nobody. It was only in my 30s when I was sober and I was on the other side of this,
Yeah.
right? That I'd forgiven my parents. I had, done all that heavy lifting of forgiveness of my father, my mother, and then myself. It's like the energetic shift happened.
Hmm.
And then I started interviewing the same people, and they shared everything with me. And I would show up with a notebook and a cassette recorder, and I'd, take tapes because I wanted to understand who my mother was. Because again, she died when I was 14.
Hmm.
So, and I don't have any tapes of her voice. I don't have any movies of her. It just breaks my heart. And I'm so grateful for iPhones right now in that moment that everyone gets to record their parents and record their loved ones and,
Yeah.
have a video so that they can remember their voice and remember their jokes and remember that
Yeah.
energy they shared.
Yeah. Okay, so you went through all of this and
Yeah.
then you said, C, D, E, F, and then I'm here. Well, you did a lot. Like there's
That's,
yeah, I'm reading your bio and I'm just like this and this and this. And then I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
I
So
think that's where we reference it's like yada yada and here I am,
yada
right?
yada,
Yada,
and we're here.
yada. That's right. I'm just here now.
I mean, you have done a lot. And
Well, I
so
have,
share with
and
us.
I have. Thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And it really was what I do today. Um, I never believed I could do or that I had a right to do it.
Hmm.
Because as I was moving through and forgiving my parents, because I didn't forgive my parents fully and completely until the 20th anniversary of their death. So I was 34 years old. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'd forgiven them in my mind many times,
Hmm.
but that's when I did a huge ceremony. And I asked my best friend to come and witness. because I need witnesses because I I think we as human beings forget all the good we've done, all the healing we've done. I
Mhm.
believe in having witnesses. So
Yeah.
I asked her, I said, "Will you come with me while I watch while I do this ceremony?" And she was like, "Yes." And so she sat over there. She wasn't near me at all. She was like, 20, 10, 15 feet away. And I brought paper and pens and sage and, burning stuff. And I just wrote letters about,
Mhm.
anger. And then I wrote all the things that they took from me because they
Mhm.
died. And then I wrote all the things that I gained from them having been my parents. And then I wrote a thank you letter to them. And each one, as I went, I ripped them up and put them into this copper bowl that I had. And I'm from the copper country, so
Mhm.
we have to have a copper bowl. And I sat at a little lake in front with my little copper bowl. And I just did all this work and just spoke to them. And I was there hours. I was probably there 4 hours.
Mhm.
And my friends just sitting there, hanging out. And but when I burned it, then I buried it.
Mhm.
And I will never forget. I'm going to start crying. I will never forget the feeling I had when I stood up and I turned from that lake and started walking away. I had the overwhelming realization that this was the very first time in my entire life I was walking in my own 2 feet with nobody on my back.
Mhm.
I wasn't carrying my parents anymore. I remember saying, I am walking in my own shoes, in my own footsteps for the first time
Mhm.
in my life. I mean, it was just so overwhelming feeling. And I'll never forget that. I just walking to my car and going, I can breathe. And I didn't know I couldn't breathe, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't know I was carrying him on my back, right? I didn't know any of that. I thought that I had gone through so much healing already that I'm sure this is
Mhm.
just a final ceremony. No, no, because I started with my father. I forgave my father, and then I forgave my mother. And in order to forgive my mother, because people ask me, well, why'd you forgive your mother? Well, for 20 years, I kept her on a pedestal,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? She's the victim, my mother, right?
Mhm.
But again, my mother did not cause her death. So I want to make sure everyone
Yeah.
hears me say that. She did not cause her death because nobody should take a gun and shoot somebody, right? But
Mhm.
what I did is look at her as a human being, right?
Mhm.
Because by the time I did this, I was 34. She died when she was 39. So I started looking at her kind of woman to woman.
Mhm.
She stayed with my father, even though she caught him cheating. She stayed with my father when he tried to strangle me when I was 12.
Mhm.
She stayed with him. So I looked at her as, again, it's not her fault that she was murdered, but she also didn't escape. She didn't escape when she was younger. And I understand it was the times and she couldn't escape. I get that. I mean, and yet I had to take her off the pedestal in order to let it go.
Yeah.
So then she was harder to forgive because I had to take her off the pedestal because
Mhm.
it was way better to have her on the pedestal, right? Like innocent
Mhm.
victim, right?
Right.
And then me forgiving myself was, of course, the hardest of all because I'm still alive and letting go of the shame of not saving her.
Mhm.
And when they died, my sister, so the guns are firing, my dad's firing the gun, and my older sister hears the guns and she runs across the street to the American Legion and tried to find somebody because it was 10:30 in the morning on Sunday,
Mhm.
hoped somebody was there drinking.
Yeah.
And we actually found somebody. It was actually the principal of our school.
Wow.
And I, after that happened, uh, went searching for my sisters, found my sister, saw her outside, ran out there, and then our principal did not let us go to our mother. So I didn't get to hold her.
Mhm.
She didn't die in my arms, right? Like she didn't, like I had none of that, right?
Mhm.
So forgiving myself for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What a beautiful ceremony to go through. And I think you're right. You think we're doing good. until we go through something like that. And then we're like, oh, I really wasn't. It was just
Yeah.
being pushed down and
Right. But we don't even know it,
we
and
don't even know it
that's the
because it
one,
becomes our normal. It's
it
like,
totally becomes our normal. And that's one of the things when I started realizing, because I grew up in I'm from Upper Michigan. People don't feel there. I'm Finnish, so we sure don't feel, and we don't, ask any questions about emotions. And so just, I didn't have any knowledge of fear. If you would have asked me during those 20 years if I was scared while I was drinking, suiciding, and being an alcoholic, I would have told you no. I would have told you I'm not scared. I'm not afraid of anything. I would have told you that because I believed that
Mhm.
until I started waking up and recognizing how insidious fear is and how many ways it shows up. And it's one of the things that I have to work with my clients on right away. Like if I meet somebody and I go, oh, they go, oh, you work with fear. Well, I'm not afraid. Most people say, well, I'm not afraid. Or they'll say, well, I'm afraid of rejection, or I'm afraid of failure, or they'll say, I'm afraid of snakes. Right.
Mhm.
But it's really one of the reasons I give a little quiz to help people start identifying how fear shows up in their life so
Mhm.
they can no longer be tricked like I was for till I was, in my mid 30s.
Mm. Interesting.
That's right. Do you want the quiz?
Yes, I was
Well,
gonna ask. I
I'd
was
love the
hoping.
quiz, and I'd love to hear how the various
I was
ways that
like,
fear
tell
can
us.
pop up. Yeah.
I am going to give you lovely ladies a quiz. And for anybody listening or watching, go ahead and shut your eyes. Go ahead and shut your
Okay.
eyes. If you can't shut your eyes because you're driving, please don't shut your eyes.
Please
Shut
don't
your eyes.
close your
Yes.
eyes if you are operating a motor vehicle. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
heavy machinery, anything that you would not
Anything
fit.
heavy.
Yes. Anything
Anything
heavy.
at all.
Yes.
Yeah. Carrying your child, don't shut your
Don't
eyes.
do
Okay.
it.
Don't close your
Yeah, don't
eyes.
do it. Don't do it. Walking across the street, don't shut your eyes. I want you to shut your eyes if it's possible, and nod your head if you do any of these things or feel any of these things. Okay. All right, here we go, lovely ones. Do you ever isolate? Do you ever deny? Do you ever pretend everything's okay when it's not? Do you ever hide out? Do you ever compare? Do you ever settle? Do you ever secretly manipulate? What about get defensive? What about judge? Do you complain? How about procrastination? Do you wait and call it patience? Do you ever blame, struggle, worry, deflect, whine, control? Do you ever feel bitter? How about powerless, dissatisfied? What about resentful, entitled, guilty? What about disappointed? Are you ever a perfectionist or a people pleaser? Do you ever feel irresponsible, overwhelmed, ignored? Do you get caught in self-pity? Do you get irritated like you might feel now with me reading these words? Do you ever feel like a victim? Do you ever feel annoyed? Go ahead and open your eyes. And what percentage, lovely ones, do you think you have? If you're willing to tell the truth.
Oh, I think I'm like at 80%.
Yeah, I'm very high. I'm probably like 85, 90%. Yeah.
I love your honesty because whether I give this quiz to 1,000 people or 100 people, I would say 95% of people have over 95%.
Yeah.
And I would dare say most of those people have 100%.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is what I started uncovering slowly but surely in my own healing is that, I thought, like I said, there was something wrong with me, right? And when I started understanding that these are fear responses,
Mm.
these are simply fear responses. And when you start seeing that the problems you think you have, oh, I wish I could quit procrastinating. Oh, I wish I could quit judging. Oh my God, I hate comparing. I know better. I know better. I know better. People please. I got to get better at boundaries, right? We all know it, right? We know it. If you're here right now, you probably have done enough work on yourself that you know it.
Mhm.
And if you're like me, I thought I had to fix it, and I blamed myself for it, and I judged myself, and I beat myself up for it. God, Rhonda, you know better than this. What's your problem? And so that beating yourself up is the number one tool fear uses to keep you in prison, to keep you
Mhm.
imprisoned by fear.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we want to do when I work with clients and students, I say the easiest way to start understanding how fear works is just starting to keep track of your fear responses
Mhm.
and relabeling, oh, I'm procrastinating. Oh, I'm judging. No, or I'm beating myself up, right? No, that is a fear response. That is a fear. I'm not bad or wrong for that experience. It is simply a fear response. So when you relabel, neuroscience says when you relabel, you're creating a new story, you're creating a new perception. And neuroscience says the only way to change your life is to have a new perception. So relabeling starts to change your story, change how you see them, and letting go of beating yourself up gives you the space and the willingness and the courage and the possibility to create a new future, to create a new present moment, to create a new future. So this is one of the things, is the very first thing I have to overcome with people is for them even to recognize that they have fear.
Yeah. Wow. When you were reading through that list, I was like,
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
it's like,
Well,
oh.
and those are the things like I'm sure that even hearing the words and you said it as you were reading through the list, like hearing those words, there are some things that you're kind of taking offense to, like, well, no, I don't manipulate people or whatever it is. But then you come back and you're like, well, are you a people pleaser? Well, there's your manipulation. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
So there you go.
Right,
Okay, well, now I'm the
again, we all-
95%.
Yeah,
Yes.
because again, we all know what we wish we didn't do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
instead of beating yourself up for these things, if you can reframe them, because fear is as smart as you are, as educated as you are, as knowledgeable you are, and as spiritual as you are. So as you get smarter, it gets smarter. Everything you know, it knows.
Yes.
And its number one job, and its only job, by the way, every feeling in the world of fearless living has a job. And fear's job is to keep you safe. And it still thinks you're 7 years old, 3 years old, 12 years old. It doesn't know you're grown up because you keep on buying into the fear responses, relabeling yourself bad or wrong, right? Oh, because what we do is when we do these things, we call them our character flaws, our defects. There's something wrong with me, our problems. But if we, again, didn't label them character defects, problems, and just label them fear responses, we would start having a different relationship to those things, which then would change our ability to respond differently.
Wow.
That's significant.
That is huge.
It's a game changer. It's a game changer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so reframing them. Can you give us an example of how to reframe one of them?
Well,
One of those fear responses?
yeah. So let's talk about, I created something called the Wheel of Fear and the Wheel of Freedom. Okay. So the Wheel of Fear, I uncovered this after my own healing, but also we're starting to work with clients. Which is a whole woo-woo story how I started that. But so I started working with clients and I started recognizing this pattern. And in the beginning, it had like 2 steps, and then it had 3 steps, and now it has 4 steps. And I've been doing this for 30 years. So the Wheel of Fear, I will show you the beautiful image of it. It has 4 components. And this is what happens when we get quote unquote triggered. Okay. Now, I believe that everybody has a core fear. Okay. So that core fear. So people say to me, like I said, fear of rejection, fear of failure. Maybe that's your core fear. Probably not. People think, oh, I don't like being called lazy because my mother called me lazy. I guarantee that's not your core fear. So what people think their core fear, I guarantee you isn't their core fear, because fear does not want to be found. Remember, it's as smart as you, educated as you, knowledgeable as you, and spiritual as you. So it is really, really good at hiding. And if it gets caught, if it gets discovered, then you will no longer be tricked and it'll no longer be able in its mind to save you. Now, I do want to say one more thing before we go to the Wheel of Fear. There's like 9 areas of our lives, right? Our career, our intimate relationships, our family, right? All those lovely things. And you might already be fearless, living on your, what I call the Wheel of Freedom in 70% of your life, right? You're like grooving, you're coax, you're amazing. So when we're going through the Wheel of Fear, I want everyone to think about an area of their life that isn't working out, right? Because that's the area where fear has power over you. So again, I get that this Wheel of Fear isn't in all areas of your life because you're rocking in some areas. So you're living on your Wheel of Freedom in some, and you're living on your Wheel of Freedom with others, right? So pay attention to what doesn't work in your life while I'm moving through this. So there's 4 components. It is a circle. It's like a bike spoke. It's got 4 spokes. And so have you ever heard of righty tighty, lefty loosey?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I actually was on a podcast recently and he didn't know what it was. I was like, what?
What?
No, exactly.
How do you get any screws out? I mean,
Yeah.
every time
I still say it in my head. I'm
I
like,
say it in my head.
I
Yes.
say it every time I take a screwdriver out.
Yes.
Righty tighty, lefty
Yes.
loosey, right?
Yes.
yep.
So you're going to notice that the wheel of fear is righty tighty because you're tightening up, right? And when we get to the
Okay.
wheel of freedom, that's lefty loosey. Okay.
Okay.
So it has 4 components. And the first one is called the trigger. And that
Okay.
is what I call your core fear. And that is your hidden, secret, silent thing that was formed by the time you were 7. And it was formed because one, maybe your environment, maybe the folks you hang out with, maybe your, whoever was in your space. But also neuroscience now knows that fears are handed down through our DNA.
Yeah.
So when people come to me and they go, "Why am I like this?" I go, there is no one why. No, you may never know because it might be your great great grandfather. It might be your great grandmother. Like you will never figure out why. Instead, don't focus on why, focus on a solution, right? Focus on moving forward and learning yourself better, right?
Yep.
So the trigger is that core fear. I'm going to tell you mine so I'll use myself as an example. My core fear, after you do the exercises in the book or, to break it down, to suss it out, to trick it out, mine is loser. Okay. Now, I promise you I've never been called a loser my entire life, right? I was a straight A student. I was class president. I was leading scorer on the basketball team. I went to track meets. I was a soloist. Again, remember, I went to a little tiny high school. So just let's put that in perspective. But where I grew up, I was definitely not a loser until, of course, my parents died, right? But, I was not a loser. So when I did the exercises for myself with the help of my BFF, and we identified, or should I say she identified loser, I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. And
Which means that's probably it.
that's probably it, right?
Yes.
So people either cry, they're like, "Oh my God," or they're like, "No way." They argue, "No way, no way," right?
Yeah.
Or they go, or they're like frozen, like, "Huh? What?" They get confused. What are we doing? What? Right? But this is the one thing I hear from people all the time is once they identify what their trigger is and they flesh out their wheel of fear, their life makes complete sense. They understand why they quit college, why they went to college, why they got married, why they got divorced, why they didn't get married, why they lost weight, gained weight. I mean, everything makes sense. So it puts your life into, again, another filter, i.e., then it changes your perception of how to view the world, but not only to view the world from your lens, because once you know your wheel of fear, the world looks different because now you see everybody's wheel of fear.
Yeah.
So now it's not personal that person's attacking you. You understand, oh, they're ignited, they're on their trigger. Okay, got it. Like it's not about me. It's they're triggered, right? And you understand and you start getting good at going like, oh, they're afraid of looking stupid. Okay, got it, right? Like you start understanding how their triggers work, right? So that's the exciting part. I have parents come to me and go, "I need to understand mine so my kids don't have a wheel of fear." And I go, "Trust me, they're going to have a wheel of fear because your neurobiology is wired for fear. So you're not getting rid of it. If you know yours, you'll be able to model for your children, right?" So, okay, so let's say I get triggered. Let's say I go to a networking event or a party and I walk in and somebody gives me a dirty look when I walk in. Okay, you know how that goes, right? And it's new people and if I am triggered, I'm like, I don't belong here, and I maybe start judging them. Oh my God, they're so stuck up. This place is not for me, right? We want to leave that place, right? And we want to blame them, right? And we make up excuses not to go in, right? Or whatever we do in order to avoid that person who's giving us a dirty look, right? Again, some of us go right up to the person giving us a dirty look and do the fight thing and be like, I'm gonna order right in front of her or him, right? I'm gonna just, but that's still fear.
Yes.
People think that's brave, but that's actually still fear in motion, right? So I get triggered. I immediately go into fear responses. Okay. The fear responses are all the things we just named. Okay. And more, because again, there's more fear responses than that. Okay. If I start doing a fear response let's say I start people pleasing. Let's say I judge. Let's say I get overwhelmed, right? Let's say I get entitled, right? Well, then I guarantee you soon enough, maybe not that minute, might be the next day, again, but it's coming down the pike. You will end up feeling your core negative feeling. Now, you and I know our core negative feelings because we felt this a lot of times. The core negative feeling is the feeling you do not want to feel. You do not want to feel this, because when you have felt it, it has been horrible. And you want to avoid it at all costs, which helps the wheel spin. So now you dump into the core negative feeling, the feeling you don't want to feel, which then most likely will make you feel hopeless, right? Make you feel frustrated, make you prove the wheel of fear that you are a loser, right? That there is something wrong with you. And then you start self-destructive. Again, we all know our self-destructive behaviors. All of us know that. Drinking too much, isolating ourselves, sleeping for 3 days without getting up, not answering our phone. Like, we know our self-destructive behaviors. But when we go on that wheel, it just keeps reinforcing that we have to get better at running from that trigger. We have to get better at it. We have to get better at our fear responses, right? And so what I teach my students is I help them find their trigger. Again, mine's loser. Fear responses, I think, I don't know how many in here, like 100 that you can check off to see. Then the core negative feeling, my personal one, again, you and I are going to have different wheels, most likely. My core negative feeling is worthless. Okay? And when I feel worthless, I give up hope, right? And it gets me down to core negative. Now, this is how I lived for a lot of those 20 years with my parents, right? I just kept spinning, not knowing I was spinning. So what I teach my students is, you can get off here, you can get off here, you can get off here, you can get off here. Building your awareness and understanding what this looks like in your personal life changes the game. Because now you see what beating yourself up is worthless, because it's not about beating yourself up. It's reframing it. I'm in a fear response. Beating myself up is a fear response. Okay, wait a minute, stop. Yeah. Because what you must do then is jump onto your wheel of freedom. Right. You must jump on it as fast as you're able. And in the beginning, you may not be able to jump on it for 3 days, right? Because you're not used to it. Your awareness isn't heightened. But as you keep working with it, right, your awareness heightens. And all of a sudden, I remember so distinctly when I started identifying my fear responses, I would identify them, a day or two later. Then I would get it down to hours later. Then I would get it to afterwards. Like, I would just judge somebody, right? Beat myself up. And then afterwards be like, oh my God, right? And then it started being while I was doing it. While I'm judging, I'm like, Rhonda, you're judging, right? Then it was, I was about to judge and I caught myself.
Yes.
And then eventually I had zero desire to judge.
Wow. It's huge.
So I don't beat myself up.
Yeah.
Right? And imagine the space, the possibilities, the creativity, the freedom that you don't have to be your judge and jury about what you're doing wrong in the world.
Right.
And therefore, if you're doing that wrong, you don't deserve success. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve ABC, right? It just proves why you're stuck like this. See, this is who you are, right? You are not your wheel of fear. You are not your wheel of fear. You are not your wheel of fear. Right? You are not your wheel of fear. You are not your wheel of fear. You are not your wheel of fear. It's a mechanism that was created by the time you were 7. It's part of our neurobiology. Everyone has one. And it's how you stay safe in the world. Okay? But again, we're grown-ass women now. And if you want a different life, if you want to make changes, you are going to cross over that wheel of fear. There is no avoiding that. So if you don't make friends with it, it is going to trick you by telling you something that you buy into and believe. And all of a sudden, 10 years go by and you haven't written that book. You haven't fallen in love. You didn't reconcile with your mother. And you still blame the other person or blame yourself or something, right? You're still caught in the cycle of fear.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.